In this world, what we see and hear may not always be the truth. There are karmic consequences that, though seemingly forgotten, quietly return at the right time to the right person in the right place. The Buddha taught, no one can escape the karma they have sown, even if they fly to the skies, dive into the deep sea, or hide in the dark forest. Today's story is not merely about a human life. It is the journey of a soul, from the darkness of jealousy through the fire of karma to finally find the light of compassion. Dear listeners, please join us in this story. A life of vengeance, the retribution of a lie, a profound tale of karma, awakening the heart in the endless cycle of rebirth. Once upon a time, in the flourishing Ming dynasty, amidst the bustling capital and within the majestic palace surrounded by fragrant gardens, lived a woman feared by the entire court, whispered among the commoners as the royal lady. She was neither queen nor princess, yet her power could make even high-ranking officials bow before her. She was the wife of a prominent minister, an educated, kind-hearted man who respected the Buddha and lived virtuously. In contrast, she was sharp, proud, and full of ambition. Her beauty could enchant many, but her gaze was as cold as morning frost atop the mountains. There was something in her heart that no one in the court knew. She craved attention. If anyone was more favored than she, even slightly, it ignited the fire of envy within her. In the grand mansion where she resided, there was no shortage of servants, yet her heart was filled with suspicion, fear, and jealousy. Power had given her everything except peace. And then, one day, when a beautiful maid appeared, the fates of many began to change. That year, a new maid named Lian was accepted into the household. Lian's beauty wasn't dazzling like a blooming peony, but gentle and pure like morning dew. She was kind, polite, and diligent. Everyone in the mansion adored her, from the cook to the sweeper. One morning, while the lady stood on the balcony, she caught her husband, the minister, gazing at Lian as she watered the plants in the garden. Just one glance, but a fire ignited in her heart. Could it be that the man she once trusted and loved was now eyeing a lowly maid? Day by day, the doubt within her grew. Every little gesture from Lian became a thorn in her eyes. Though Lian always bowed politely and never overstepped her bounds, in the lady's eyes, she was an unforgivable threat. And then came the fateful day. The lady secretly ordered a close maid to hide a valuable bracelet in Lian's chest. Afterwards, she ordered an immediate search. Under the stunned eyes of the household, the bracelet was undiscovered. Lian, pale and trembling, had no idea what was happening. The lady stood before her and shouted, "You dare steal from your mistress? Were you planning to use this precious item to seduce my husband?" Lian could only cry, beg, and swear she was innocent. But between the words of a mere maid and the voice of the lady, who would be believed? That very day, she was cast out of the mansion, but the tragedy didn't end. Under orders, officials arrested her on charges of theft and seduction. A death sentence was issued. No trial, no investigation. On the day she was led to execution, the young maid left behind a curse. "If I truly suffer wrongly in this life, may heaven bear witness. My soul shall follow you to the end of your days until retribution comes." That morning, the sky was dark, thick with clouds, and no sunlight broke through. The maid named Lian was brought to the execution ground. No relatives came to bid farewell. No one spoke on her behalf. She was just a servant, a shadow beneath the world of power and deceit. She knelt at the center of the execution ground. Her hands still bore scratches from the chains, and her eyes were dry of tears. Looking up at the sky, She softly said, "If I am at fault, may I face retribution. But if I am innocent, may heaven and earth bear witness. I shall not be freed until the truth is revealed." The shining blade rose. Blood stained the earth. A life extinguished, silently, cruelly. From that day on, strange things began happening in the mansion. The first night after Lien's death, the lady dreamed of standing in the garden, hearing someone sobbing behind her. She turned. No one was there, but on the white petals of the flowers there was a red stain, as if blood had just fallen. In the nights that followed, she often awoke in terror, her forehead drenched in sweat. Always the same dream, the maid in a white dress, long hair flowing, sorrowful eyes, standing silently beneath the eaves, staring into her room. Once she screamed in her sleep, "I didn't kill you! I didn't kill you!" But deep inside she knew it was her who had planted the seed of that wrongful death. A false accusation, a fabricated lie, had stolen an innocent girl's life. Since then, the lady suffered from insomnia. Her eyes darkened, her skin pale. No one dared stay near her for long, for whenever she was enraged, a strange cold wind would blow through the mansion, lamps would flicker out, and the sound of soft weeping echoed from nowhere. After passing away in her previous life, the soul of the lady who had falsely accused the maid was reborn into a wealthy modern family. From a young age, the girl, named V, had deep, contemplative eyes, as though she had seen many lifetimes. She grew up in luxury, excelling in studies, beautiful and successful at a young age. But from age 30 onward, V's life began to fall apart. Her successful husband suddenly had an affair. The divorce cost her both happiness and reputation. Her children, once loving, became rude, only caring about money. She lived in a grand villa, but dined alone every night. Since then, V lived in solitude. Though wealthy, she felt empty inside. Friends were superficial. Whenever she needed someone to confide in, no one truly listened. She began suffering from chronic insomnia. Her nightmares became clearer. In her dreams, a girl in white with long hair would often appear in the corner of the room, looking at her with sorrowful, reproachful eyes. V visited hospital after hospital. All test results came back normal, but she knew, deep inside, something was clinging to her, a piece of the past that had not yet been severed. One day, V was lightly injured in a car accident. Upon awaking, she saw an old beggar woman watching her closely. The woman said nothing but one line: "Those who wrong the innocent shall not be spared by heaven. Have you remembered who you are yet?" From that moment, fragmented memories returned, scenes from a distant past, red lacquered balconies, eyes filled with jealousy, an execution ground, and the cries of a falsely accused maid. V panicked, but from then on, she understood. Everything she had suffered was the karmic result of what she had done in a previous life. After days drowning in suffering and nightmares, V, a woman once surrounded by luxury but now deeply lonely, decided to seek peace at a temple. She didn't ask for much, just hoped her heart would find some calm. The temple was on a high mountain, shrouded in mist and ancient pine trees. No honking cars, no loud conversations, only silence, and a bell echoing as if from countless past lives. There, she was guided to meet an old Zen master, one who had lived in seclusion for decades. His eyes were deep, as though seeing through all samsara, and his smile gentle, as if he had forgiven much. As Vi knelt to bow before the Buddha, before she could speak, the Zen master asked, "Do you still see the girl in white standing under the eaves?" Vi burst into tears. She recounted everything, the dreams, the brokenness, the loneliness, and the girl's resentful eyes. The Zen master listened quietly, nodding slowly. He said, "In your past life, you held power, but because of one jealous thought, one lie, one false accusation, you took the life of an innocent maid. That hatred, that resentment, did not fade with death, but became a knot binding lifetimes together." The Zen master did not scold her. He simply said, "Karma is not punishment. Karma is the opportunity to correct oneself. As long as you can still hear and still see, you can still be saved." Vi knelt, tears streaming. For the first time in her life, she felt a lightness, not because someone forgave her, but because she dared to face her own sins. From that day on, Vi decided to stay at the temple for a while. She learned to chant sutras, light incense, clean the main hall, and help pilgrims. Every morning, she prostrated 100 times before the Buddha, not to ask for anything, but to repay her past wrongs. One night, after finishing her meditation, Vi looked up at the Buddha statue and whispered, "I harmed someone. I wish to make amends. If there's still a chance, I vow to spend the rest of my life helping those who suffer as I once did." After 3 months of retreat at the temple, Vi was no longer the cold, lonely woman she once was. Her posture became more graceful, her gaze softened, her smile returned with warmth, and most of all, her heart had learned to bow. She returned to the city, but this time, not to continue her old life. Vi sold off part of her assets and gathered funds to establish a charity named Lin Tom. No one knew the meaning behind the name, but in her heart, it was her way of commemorating the girl she had wronged in a past life. Vi opened free classes for poor children, helped the elderly living alone, sponsored eye surgeries, built shelters for the homeless. Each day she did a good deed, without fanfare, without newspaper coverage, without many words. Those who once knew her no longer recognized her. The woman who once lived to compete now lived to let go. Once, people saw her sitting beside a beggar woman, peeling a cake with her own hands, pouring water, and speaking gently as if to family. An orphan child called her Mother Vi. A monk once said, "Someone like her cannot change the past, but can transform the future." That year, Vi turned 55. One morning, she felt her heart become light, as if something was about to come full circle. She returned to the old temple, bowed deeply 3 times before the Buddha, and asked to stay for rest and reflection. A week later, when the nuns entered her room, Vi was sitting in lotus position before the Buddha altar, wearing a serene smile. Her final breath fell like a petal, silent, without burden. That night, in the temple courtyard, a disciple said they saw a girl in white, long hair flowing, standing under the Bodhi tree, but this time, not with resentment, but smiling. Perhaps the grudge had dissolved, the past karma had transformed, and the two souls once bound by hatred had now both let go, both found peace. Years later, in a small countryside village, there was a little girl about 8 years old, living with her frail grandmother in a thatched hut beside the rice fields. Though poor, the girl was always polite, hard-working, and especially helpful to others. If someone fell, she helped them up. Seeing a beggar, she shared half her meal. That little girl, Anne, was dirt poor, yet she helped everyone. as if she was born to repay the kindness of life. One day, an old monk passed through the village. Seeing the girl feeding her grandmother, he quietly shed a tear. Then he said, "The seed of compassion has sprouted from a petal that once fell in silence." No one understood his words, but those who knew the old story would know. That girl was the soul of the woman named Vi, now reborn, with a pure heart, untouched by the dust of the world. And somewhere in another realm, perhaps the soul of the maid from long ago had also found a place of peace, no longer in pain, no longer bearing resentment. The story ends, but the cycle of karma does not. Those who sow good seeds will reap sweet fruit. Those who sow malice will meet suffering. Whether in this life or the next, nothing is ever lost, only transformed. The Buddha once taught, "Though it may take hundreds or thousands of lifetimes, the karma one creates will never be lost. When the conditions are right, the result will come, without fail." So, please keep a kind heart. Do not let a lie, a jealous thought, become the chains that bind us through lifetimes of suffering. We cannot erase the past, but we can begin from the present, to sow seeds of compassion and walk into the future with light steps. A small lie can lead to the loss of a life. A single jealous thought can become a chain binding us through many lifetimes, but just one tear of repentance can dissolve an entire ocean of karma. We all make mistakes, but what sets us apart is whether we have the courage to turn back. This story ends, but its message remains. Live kindly, think wholesomely, and speak truthfully. For the seed you sow will become the fruit you reap without error. Thank you for listening to today's story of karma. If you found meaning in it, please share this video as a seed of goodness to be planted in others' hearts. Karma spares no one. The awakened one is the first to free themselves.